Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce Lex Hunt. First off, I want to say, look how attractive he is. He told me he was going to wear a suit, and the man delivered.
Yeah, you thought I was playing, dude. Thought I was playing. Got a Stetson on. Check that thing out. That's a sweet hat, dude.
I mean, anytime you show up to a podcast with a real cowboy hat, you ain't playing games.
You ain't playing no games, son. I'm happy to be here. I wanted to make a good first impression on this podcast.
Well,
So I said, let me dress up, because your boy be looking raggedy sometimes.
Well, I'd say you look fantastic. So Lex has actually got to take his hat off because the headphones won't work.
Which is, kind of my
first world problems.
kind of killing my drip, but that's all right. I cut my hair for this too.
Yeah, man, it looks good. And I was worried. So you guys can't really see, but Nest has a set of double doors at the front. I wasn't sure if I was going to have to open up that second door for you because of how big your nutsack is.
I thought you were going to say my hat. You said nutsack.
No, because what we're going to talk about today is taking a small 18-foot Carolina Skiff JVX 30 miles offshore.
Quit playing like you wouldn't do the same thing. Know you would.
If I had it, I would.
You sent your boat, what, like at least 5
miles?
miles?
Yeah, that's about max.
And
yeah.
yours is a 16.
It's 16, yeah. But
kind of the same thing. I went to the Carolina Skiff Gulfstream, dude. That's what I did.
That's good. That's a good distance.
That's the way I look at it. You getting 100 foot of water, that's Carolina Skiff Gulfstream.
Yeah, for sure. I will not do it in mine now, but the goal would be to get something 20 to 23. But I want to talk about yours.
Yeah.
So I've been out in that boat. I want to start talking about the boat a little bit. I've been in the DLVs. My brother-in-law, he actually had the 21 foot and the 23. And it was I believe it was the 8-foot wide beam, so a very wide boat. And honestly, man, riding in yours rides better than his DLVs did.
I don't know anything about that boat, except like I know about mine a little bit. But the DLV, is it the modified V? It's
a little deeper V, yeah. It's similar to the front of yours, but I'm thinking that just from my experience that yours cuts through the waves so well because it's a narrow boat to a degree.
It probably makes a difference.
I think that's why it rides so well, based on what I've seen in that boat. But as far as like, okay, you wake up, you're like, all right, it looks good, I'm gonna go. What kind of conditions are you looking for right out the gate
to send it like far, like 18 plus?
Say you want to go, you want to go 10, you get out there, it's, well, let's push it 15, all right, 25, 30. So what are you looking for?
So I'm looking for less than, I don't really want the wind more than 7, blowing 7. Mm-hmm. Like a constant of like 5, 7 to 8. I'm not going out if it's more than 8. And I'm looking at that wind direction as well. Like where's the wind blowing out of? Is it blowing southwest? Is it blowing out of the west? I'm trying to figure out, because if the wind is blowing out of the west, it's going to lay the ocean down. So it can get, if it's 7 miles an hour out of the west and you got that throughout the entire day, you're looking good. You're looking good out there. But if that wind switches, and it's pretty accurate for the most part when you look at it. I always look at it in the morning before I go out, because it can literally change from when I go to sleep to when I wake up. And I'm looking for, you want me to get into wave height and period and everything on there?
Yeah.
So I'm looking for a wave height no more than 2.5 foot. I want it under 3 foot. So 1.5 foot is probably about the best you're going to get for the most part. 1 to 1.5 foot. So if it's 1.5 foot, I'm like, sweet, blowing 7 to 8 mile an hour all day, cool. Wind direction doesn't change too much, awesome. I know that when I get out there, it's not going to get much worse than it is already. So that's, and then the period of wave, which is like how many swells you get per second, or I'm sorry, how many seconds between swells. So I'm looking for something like 8, 7 is probably the least, and I want it to be like 9. 9 and 10 is like really good. That's an amount of seconds between swells. So that's what I'm looking for as far as the worst conditions to the best. You have a very small window on that skiff. You have to be cautious. You have to be smart. And then you could get out there and your forecast is telling you one thing and you see something different. So it's important to stay aware when you get out there. Obviously, you want to know your forecast, but
yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to this topic because the majority of people that do fish don't have access to an offshore boat.
Yeah.
So like your everyday guy that's going out and is 16 to 23, like if you can read the conditions and plan ahead of time, it is an option to push the limit a little bit. As far as like, okay, so you've got a day you're off next week, and you're looking at the forecast. Are you like looking for a consistency between a few days, or is it necessarily like, oh, that day says it's going to blow 5? Like what do you do in that planning session?
If it's blowing, so say I see a day that I'm like, all right, that's the day to go. You know, we got a window here. One thing that's important to remember is, what was it doing all night? What did it do the day before? Because that ocean can still be kicked up from the night before when you get out there. And most of the time, if you have a rough day, the day before the one you chose to go out, it will lay down. Like early morning can be a little rougher sometimes whenever. But I honestly, the best case scenario is you have a calm day, 2 calm days in a row, you go on the second one, and it's beautiful. As long as it's not going to turn on you midday. But that doesn't happen much around here, especially this time of year. You get like the next 5 days, it's blowing 20, 15, 20. I mean, it's blowing the next like 4 or 5 days. So it's just one thing to remember. Like, that's why I'm looking at the forecast. I'm looking at everything. I want to see what's going on out there. Even if I'm not going to go fishing, like I still want to know what's going on out there. There's cameras. You can look at our surf cams and stuff like that. You can see if there's white caps out there, there's no way I'm pushing it. You know, I might stay 2 miles if it's not bad, 2 miles within the shore, but you can look at those surf cams, another good tool that you have there.
And the main one that I use is surfchecks.com for everybody that does not use the surf cams. You can get your wind speed. It's a live wind. One of my favorite things to do is if we have a storm come up, I'm looking to see what the max wind is. Like we had the bad wind, a week and a half ago, it got up to like 60-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, you texted me. I'm like, Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so it's a great tool. But so I know a lot of people are like, this dude's crazy.
Crazy. I am crazy.
Going out, 30 miles in an 18-foot skiff. It's a controversial topic, but like, what are some of the other things that you do to prepare as far as safety goes?
All right, that's a good question, because if there was one thing that I got assassinated for on Facebook, it was not wearing a life jacket with an EPIRB attached to it. So personally, I'm not wearing a life jacket when I go out on my boat, because I'm not taking that boat out the inlet if I feel like I have to wear a life jacket. It's just not something that I'm going to do. So, of course, I have life jackets on the boat. I have more than enough life jackets. You're supposed to have 1 life jacket per person on your boat, but I have probably 5 or 6 in there. Usually have 2 people on the boat. EPIRB, mine is called an emergency. Mine's an emergency, a PSB or something like that. It's like an emergency beacon. It's the same thing as an EPIRB. It's like $350 on Amazon, and basically, if your boat is going down, or if you're in an emergency, you pop this thing open, an antenna pops up, you turn it at a right angle, you press a button. So it's very simple, because it could be chaotic it is going to be chaotic if you ever have to use it. So I have one of those, and that will immediately call the Coast Guard. Don't know how long the Coast Guard takes to get there. That can be an issue when you're going out in cold water in the wintertime, because human body only can function at tops for 30 minutes in that freezing cold water. So I keep the life jackets. I keep the EPIRB. What else do I do for safety? I don't gun it. I'm not gunning it, not taking on water. I check everything before I leave. I check bilge pumps. I check electronics. I check all my gas. I make sure the boat's starting well. If I feel like anything's off, I'm probably not sending it. I check my lower unit oil sometimes, because I'm like, my lower unit oil might have looked a little weird last time. I want to check it before I go 18 miles. Anything in my mind where I have a doubt, I'm checking it, because I'm not trying to ruin my time out there by mentally screwing myself, thinking about all these things that can go wrong. I'm trying to enjoy myself out there. So I want to check. I want to have these things in check. Another good thing, I have not bought this yet, but I am going to buy one. It's called a Garmin inReach. You can actually text from the Gulf Stream with a Garmin inReach. It connects to your phone, connects to your boat if you have one of those nice boats. It's about $350 too. It's a little tiny walkie-talkie looking thing. If your boat breaks down out there, you don't want to have to pull your EPIRB out, because the Coast Guard's probably coming with a helicopter and stuff. So that Garmin inReach would allow you to text or call. I think you can probably call on it too. It would allow you to text or call CTO, which wouldn't, get all your emergency services going because you are stuck out there and can't get your boat back, which would be an emergency, but not necessarily a life-threatening emergency, you know.
Yeah, I need to get one of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy one, man. This stuff's so expensive to me, but I mean, you can't put a price on not dying out there in the ocean. You know, I should have one, man. I've been a slacker by not getting one. I got the EPIRB, and I'm like, cool, I feel way better.
Mm-hmm.
And then now that's my next goal is to get that Garmin inReach. That thing's sweet, dude.
And you have your radio too.
Radio too, yep, yep. So and a radio kind of it doesn't really work unless you have a boat close to you. Like, and even if you have a boat close to you, that person might not have their radio on. That person might not have a radio. They might not respond to you if you call for help. You know, it's hard to depend on other people, but I mean, every tool you can get is good when you're going out there in a small boat like I got.
It sounds like your best plan of action is to prepare.
Prepare.
For the worst.
Yeah, prepare for the worst. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like I have to trust my gut. Like if I start, well, I'm not going to get into that. We'll talk about it, but the safety thing is so important. It's so important when you're going. My mama is going to kill me because, dude, I took the boat. I think I had a video where it was talking about 18 miles out. My mama was like, I hope that wasn't true. She's like, I hope you didn't take that boat 18 miles out, dude. And I was like, I did, Mama. I'm sorry. And she was so mad. Dude, my dad was mad too. He's like, are you seriously going out in the ocean with that boat like that? I'm like, yeah, I am. So, yeah, they'll be mad. They'll be mad about this. But sorry, Mom.
Hey, man, we're just trying to make do with what we got, Mom and Dad.
Hey, Mom, Dad, feel free to buy me a bigger boat.
Yeah.
You know where my house is. Drop it off there.
Oh, yeah. So now that we've upset Mom and Dad, so say you're out there, you're plan to have a nice 5 to 8 mile an hour day, blowing west. Well, all of a sudden you feel a shift. Usually it'll fall out first. It falls out and you feel a shift. It's switching over to east. You start to see a couple rollers coming in that are not, traditional to what you've been seeing all day. What's your initial thoughts as far as like, what do I need to do?
If I'm out 18 miles, time to go.
Yeah.
Time to go. Don't stick around, wait for it. I would move closer inshore, fish some 5 to 7 mile stuff and see what happens. If it's not too bad, let's just kind of see what happens. We're already halfway back to the inlet at this point, but if I'm 18 miles out in the skiff, it takes an hour to get there when it's nice. So you're talking about at least 30 to 45 minutes to get back where you kind of are in a more safe zone. If I start seeing waves rolling, if that wind's picking up, changing directions, I'm gone. The fish, no fish is worth flipping, capsizing a boat out there. It's just not. So yeah, I'm out.
So the whole time you're out there, you're looking at your surroundings, you're paying attention. You're not just fishing and like, oh, well, I'm smoking them. You're being cautious, even when you're having a good time.
Have to. You have no choice when you're in a small boat like that out there. If you're in a bigger boat, you can be a little more carefree with the weather. You generally know that it's not going to pick up to 20 miles an hour wind if it says 8. But if you're on a skiff and it picks up to 12, 13 and changes directions, it's going to take you 2 hours to get back without beating your boat up and taking on water. And yeah, you got to just be smart. You start seeing those waves roll, that wind direction change, it's time to move back in, Yeah,
and ultimately that's the risk you take if you're going out there in a small boat, you got to understand that, okay, this might not work out as planned, but I'm going to be safe. I'm going to look out for my passengers, anybody that goes with me. You got kids at home. You're like, I got to be careful doing it for them. So, and let's jump into like the actual fishing. So you've covered all bases. You're safe. You're prepared. Like, how are you finding these spots? Are you using public numbers? Are you using private numbers? Like, what is your process to develop a plan?
Now you're getting me excited. You're getting me excited now. I started getting excited when you said, oh, it's so nice you're out there fishing. Okay, so a good place to start, I absolutely destroyed grouper on public numbers this year. Like, just destroyed them, like in the 18 to 15 mile range, like at the end of the year. So a good place to start is public numbers. I mean, especially if it's not like summertime and if it's not like real warm outside, there's not going to be a lot of people fishing, pounding these public numbers. These public numbers, they produce when there's not a ton of boat traffic, a ton of people trolling over them. You'll really see some cool stuff. Now, if you're into trolling, you can troll around and watch your bottom machine, watch your screen. If you see anything that looks different on that screen, any 1 to 2 foot, I'm fishing a 2-foot ledge. If I see it out there, 2 feet, a foot even is all it takes for me. If I'm looking at that screen and if I see anything that looks like hard bottom or anything that looks like it could be growth on the bottom, I'm dropping a jig down. If there's fish there, you're going to get a bite within the first minute or two. If I don't get a bite within a minute or two, I'm going to the next spot. I may move over 50 yards. That's a good way to find. It's a good way to find spots that aren't public numbers, is to troll around. And there'll be spots around these public numbers that aren't right on the public numbers. So if you can find stuff like that, a lot of those fish will move off those public number spots and move to those spots that are close to it, because that's their next little habitat they have. Contour lines. Contour lines are great. You know, you're going to see. Sometimes you can find them on the map. They're pretty accurate. Navionics is a great app to have. You can see a lot of those contour lines and dips and ledges and humps, and anything that looks different on the ocean floor most of the time is going to hold fish. It just depends on what time of year it is. If you see a spot and you don't catch any fish at this spot, maybe wait a couple months and try it again, because these fish could be moving in. Like we went the other day, no sea bass. Like the only thing we caught was dink sea bass. In the end of the year last year, and it was cold outside, we were catching big sea bass. Water temp was the same. So these sea bass haven't moved back in. It's the same water temp. Excuse me. But we know that at the end of the year, that those spots produce. It's so unpredictable and hard. But you have to fish anything that looks different. That's the only way you're going to learn.
In my experience, it's usually the spots that aren't the public number that do the best for me.
100%, yeah.
And I've found them by drifting most of the time.
Yeah, drifting is great. Because I have a trolling motor, so I'm spoiled. You know what I mean? I can troll a motor around, but I putt around with the big motor if I'm trying to find a spot. But yeah, drifting would be. Do you get near public numbers when you do that? Yeah,
so like what I'll do is I'll go to a spot and I'm like, all right, I want to look and see what is on the bottom, doing exactly what you're describing. I'll first I find out what the current's doing, and then I'll move up from that and drift the current back. And usually it'll be a consistent field, and you can get a feel for, okay, there's something different, boom, mark it. Well, now you've just started to create like a GPS mapping system of the entire area. So that's how I do it, but I also haven't had the opportunity to get out to places like what you're doing. So it's interesting to me to hear that just because you're fishing the same spot this month doesn't mean it's going to produce in the same ways that it is next month.
And it makes me think, how much does it have to do with water temperature? Because the water temperature is the same as it was when we were catching big sea bass. It's got to do with time of year maybe, or maybe moon phase. I don't know. I just know that there wasn't anything there that was like it was there at the end of the year, like last year. So I'm trying to put the puzzle together too myself.
I think that's what makes it fun.
That is what makes it
chase.
Fun. Yeah, it's like, okay, I got a guaranteed good spot right here. No, you don't. And then that's sometimes that's some of the best things that happen. Like when me and you went fishing that day, somebody was in a spot we knew was good. We knew we would probably catch a fish. We ended up moving to a different spot, and we had an epic day.
Yeah.
So sometimes when somebody's in your spot, that's the best thing that could happen to you, because it forces you to go fish a different spot and figure out another way to catch fish. That makes you a better angler, in my opinion.
So say you show up to a set of numbers, you've had it in your mind all night, you want to go there first. Well, you see somebody set up on the spot. Like, what would be the best way, in your opinion, that you would navigate that situation?
Is it a spot big enough for 2 boats to fish?
That's a good question.
Possibly.
I guess you would need to know the spot well enough to decide that yourself.
If I think the spot is big enough for 2 boats to fish, but I'm still going to have to get close to you, I'm going to not get real close to your boat, and I'm going to say, hey, man, do you care if we fish right here, or is this going to impede on your fishing? And I'm going to talk to you, because I like to communicate with people, and that's the only way. You can't assume that I know anything. You have to assume I know nothing out there. So if it's a spot like that, I'm going to ask the person. You're talking about in the ocean, obviously. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, if it's not big enough for 2 people to fish, I'm going to go ahead and try to hit the next nearest spot. That's my mentality about it. They were there first, so I got to,
Yeah.
they have the.
Is it pretty congested based on what you've seen? I mean,
As far as people?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I've been going out there in the lesser busy months.
True.
So I'm sure that we have good numbers that aren't public numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So we're lucky for that. Having some friends that troll is a great thing. Get some friends who king mackerel troll, because they don't care about those bottom numbers, and they'll be like, oh yeah, here's a good bottom right here. Boom, here's the coordinates. It's always good to make friends with people who troll, because they're not hiding, like holding on to these numbers that aren't public numbers. They want to share it with you if they're your friend. So it hasn't been congested, but when it does get that way, I will fish those other. I won't be on the public numbers most likely.
Mm-hmm. I guess the biggest indicator there is just like you were saying with water temp and weather, and is it summer, and are the migratory fish, have they shown up yet? Because we do have the Spanish and bonita and false albacore that'll be here soon. So
with the migratory fish comes the migratory fisherman, Eric, okay? That's what I thought you were going to say.
No.
Have the migratory fishermen shown up yet? But you get fair weather guys,
yeah,
which I get, man, but I'm hardcore.
Yeah.
So I don't care if it's 32 degrees, but you're right. When those migratory fish show up, that's when the tourists show up, and that's when the people who may not know as much as we know about boats and driving a boat show up. So you got to be careful with these guys trolling if they're not paying attention. I had an issue the other day, a guy not paying attention, and then he got mad at me. So it's like, okay, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So yeah, it hasn't been congested, but when it does get that way, I'm moving off the public numbers and try to find some other stuff. Probably a lot of scouting, not a lot of fishing.
Yeah.
That's probably what it's going to be like.
Well, I want to get your opinion. So you have a spot at 15 miles you're going out to hit. You want to hit that one first. You get out there. You said earlier that you like to drop something down, and you should have a bite within the first minute.
Yep.
Are you dropping artificials? Are you dropping metal jigs, soft plastics? Are you looking for live bait? Are you looking for dead cut bait? Like, what is your opinion on the best way to scout that spot to know if you want to sit there and post up?
First instinct to answer that would be drop a small metal, something that can get to the bottom pretty quick. I don't use much over an ounce and a quarter. It's about where I stay when I'm in 50 to 75 feet of water. I'm dropping a metal jig down, because if there's any sea bass there, they're going to hit it. If there's any grunts there, they're going to hit it. So and when you have those fish, if you have good sized sea bass, you have a good spot. If you have decent sized grunts, usually you have a good spot. There could be grouper there. There could be other fish, cobia, So I'm dropping a metal down. And if I have to put like squid or cut bait on that metal to try to get a bite, sometimes I may do that, but you start really attracting the trash fish, like the ringtails, pinfish. They all start to come to that. When you start dropping cut bait down, you get sharks. You start attracting a bunch of trash fish, So, yeah, the metal, that's my first instinct to answer that question.
And that seems like an easy bait, too, just because it does get down so fast.
Easy bait. Big Nick jig, I like those. You know what I like, the Big Nick diamond jigs. We talked about them before. I like to start out with a small metal. I don't like to drop anything too big or heavy at first, unless I'm getting big marks on my screen, and I'm like, okay, there might be something better down there. So, yeah.
What kind of water depth are you seeing up to like 30 miles?
So the crazy thing about it is when you get about 25 miles out, you have 20-foot ledges. So you have ledges that go from 80 to 100 feet. So I've been in 100 foot of water, and that's gnarly, dude. Like it's just a whole nother, like if you hook up on a big fish, you got to pull that thing up 100 feet. So I got broke off the other day just fishing with too light a tackle, when I was way out there, not ready for that bite. I got pretty much spooled. My rod had smoke. My reel had smoke coming off of it.
What do you consider too light for that situation?
Well, I was fishing a Penn Spin Fisher 2500 with 20-pound braid, 15-pound braid, which I think 15-pound braid and 20-pound braid is not an issue. I think it's that 30-pound fluoro that I had because you get a king with the teeth or a big Spanish, they're gonna fray that fluoro. So I was fishing it was small, man. I was fishing with the same thing I fish with close to the beach. So
it's the perfect rod setup for you at 100 feet.
100 feet,
to be able to catch a decently large fish and still get action from the smaller fish, what would be the size in your opinion?
The size reel
and rod.
Man, that's tough because I feel like if I would have had on my 2500 a full spool of braid, I probably would have been okay. And for me, I like to land big fish on the smallest gear that I can, which is kind of dumb because you go out there to catch them. You want to catch them. But probably a 3,000. I don't like going much bigger than that, which I do have a 4,000 Shimano Spiros that I absolutely love. That's probably honestly what I would grab. I'd grab the 4,000. I don't even know what the rod is. I just don't know all the specs on the rod, but it's 7 foot, I'm pretty sure, and it's pretty heavy with a fast action, so I can still do my jigging like I want to do. It's a light rod, but you can land a big AJ with it. So it's there.
And you would say a 5,000 to 6,000 may be a little overkill for the average fish that you're pulling off of these numbers?
For me, yeah, but for anybody else, probably not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a problem using that.
Mm-hmm.
You may get tired of jigging because it's a little heavier, but
yeah.
I mean, I like the small boat in the ocean, and I like the small rods and reels landing. I mean, you caught the fish last time we were out there. I got broke off 10 times when we had the AJs on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I'm dumb. Like I want to keep throwing it and try to get it because I think it's cool if you get it anyways. But
yeah, I'll actually link that video in this description because this is
so cool. Man.
This is really it's fitting to talk about this and link that video. So that's going to be down low.
Yeah.
But are you more of a fan of conventional or spinning gear?
I like spinning gear, but if I'm going for groupers, like I'm using conventional.
Okay.
I'm using a narrow conventional, and I'm gonna throw like slow pitch jigs. I'm gonna throw cigar minnows with a weight, swivel, and all that. Yeah, if I'm going for grouper, conventional. If I know there's AJs there and I got my conventional on the boat, probably gonna use that.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. I like the spinning rod. I like the sound of the drag pulling out on it. I like everything about a spinning rod. I feel like I can work an artificial bait better with a spinning rod. So it depends on. I thought somebody was coming in the door behind me, dude. Is that Elias, dude?
It is.
Is it? What's up, Elias? Shout
sorry,
out, bro.
Dude. I'm turning my phone off on
it's
you, bro.
All good. Yeah, dude. I like spinning rods, dude.
Okay.
I'm a fan.
And the conventional for grouper, is that more because, like, what is the logic for why you would want to choose that for the larger grouper? They are a powerful fish.
Because I want to get them a couple of feet off the bottom with the least amount of cranks, and I want my drag, like I want it all pretty much cranked down. Because those first few feet with the grouper it's detrimental to whether or not you're going to catch that fish. You know, so I don't know. I think the conventional, I can really get that. I can get the leverage on them that I need, I feel like.
More backbone.
Maybe it's mental, but.
No, I think you have more leverage, like you said. It has more backbone, and the drag, you can just crank down on this
Shorter
fish.
rod, too. I like a short rod for groupers. Like, I don't need any kind of – I just need the thing to bounce. I don't care how it bounces. I just need it to bounce because a grouper's a trash can. They're going to eat – and most time I'm not going to use slow pitch jigs. I'm going to use cigar minnows, so I don't have to bounce anything. I just got to be ready for the bite and ready to get him up off that rock before he pulls me in there.
Yeah, they'll run straight for that cover, try
Absolutely.
to cut you off every time.
Those first few feet with a grouper, you're pretty much going to know whether or not you're going to land that fish.
And to a lot of people, that would be like that's a legendary catch on an 18-foot skiff, and you did that the other day.
Oh, I was on a spinning rod.
That was?
I was on a spinning rod with a tiny little metal jig, dude.
Yeah.
I was not expecting a grouper. But I was hitting my public number grouper fire hole, son.
Okay.
Shouts out to my boy Adam for the fire hole, son. He shot me them coordinates, man. But it's public numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And we tore them up.
Yeah.
We tore them up this year on that hole, dude.
Yeah, I feel like that's the holy grail, is to be able to catch grouper on an 18-foot skiff.
Sick, dude.
So, yeah, man, have I missed anything that you'd like to talk about?
Dude, we caught 30-pound AJs on that skiff, dude.
We did, yeah.
I mean, they were 30 pounds, right? Didn't we measure?
Yes.
Didn't we weigh them?
Yes.
30-pound AJs, dude, on a skiff on artificial spinning rod. You caught one. I got broke off 5
We got broke
times.
off a lot.
So yeah, that's a good video to link in here.
That video is going to be down below. One more thing, so you win $100,000 from the lottery, and you're like, this is for a boat. What size boat do you think you would get to continue doing the same thing that you're doing and shape?
What size boat you're saying?
And shape.
Okay, well, my business partner just got that new Bulls Bay,
Mm-hmm.
23 foot, 22 foot. I can't remember. It's got 200 on the back. I've been looking at that one, like just kind of studying what we have, and it just looks so sick, dude. So honestly, I'd probably get a bigger bay boat,
Okay.
where I could still get in 6 to 8 inches of water if I wanted to go fish for redfish, which I absolutely love redfish. Or I could go out in the ocean on the same calm days. I mean, I can do that on my boat. But if you give me $100,000, you're like, hey, spend it on a boat, I'm gonna spend 60, probably 60 on the Bulls Bay because I just love it.
Yeah.
We'll see how much I like it after we get out there in it. But that thing's decked out. I mean, or a Pathfinder. I really like Pathfinders. I'm gonna get the biggest motor they got on the back though, because that's just the way I am, dude.
300 on the back.
I mean, I got $100,000, right?
That's true.
Put the biggest one on the back,
Yeah.
double power poles, hook me up with every electronic you got, dude. Put a tower on it, whatever.
Something breaking every 2 weeks.
Yeah, something. I know I better save $30,000 out of the 100 just to fix the boat, dude. Gas mileage is a good thing to think about when you're out there on a small boat. You get much better gas mileage. You're not going to spend as much money on gas, but you also got to think about you may not have a tank that is sufficient to get you 23 miles out and back. You got to add those miles up. It's going to be more than 23 miles if you're going 23-mile rock, somewhere like that. 23-mile rock out of our inlet's 25 miles or maybe a little more. You got to add that up. You got to think about, like, you're not just going to go 50 miles that day. You're going to be moving the boat around. You're going to be going over swells. I mean, those are things to think about. Know your boat. Know your gas tank. Feel comfortable out there. Know your gas mileage. If there's any doubt in your mind, put a gas can on the boat. Probably not the safest thing in the world to have a gas can on the boat, but it's better than running out of gas out there, at least until you figure out how far you can get on your boat, because that's how I figured mine out. I would just push it further, further, and further, and I'd map it out on my app on my phone. Like, I know I can get 50 miles, 60 miles. I can get 50 miles and still have a quarter tank of gas left. So knowing your boat, knowing where's your limit, because you don't ever want to push that boat to the limit. Where's your limit? Because your limit needs to be way underneath where that boat can be pushed to. It's not smart to push a boat to its absolute limit. I know people going to call me names for saying that, but that's all right, because I'm alive, all right? And I caught fish out there.
Well, man, I want to keep you alive, and every time I see y'all going out and having a good time and doing well, it burns me up that I can't jump out there and buy my 23, because that's what I want, a 23-foot boat.
Yeah, what kind of boat would you get? I'm going to put this cowboy hat on for a while. What kind of boat would you get? You got $100,000.
Probably a 23 to 25-foot Parker.
Nice.
Yeah.
Parkers are great boats.
Probably 23, just because of the fuel mileage. I'm just like you are. I get seasick, so I'm not going out there if it's above 3 foot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to come in if it hits 3 foot.
Same, me too.
I feel like a 23-foot, even 21. I mean, if you can do it in 18, you can do it in 21.
Absolutely.
But it would still give me that opportunity to get in and get out safely. So, but Lex, man, I appreciate you.
Covered everything, dude.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. I couldn't think of a better person to do my first fishing podcast than with you.
Thank you so much.
And you broke the ice with me on your podcast, so it got me a little bit of experience. So.
Hey, if y'all want to see me go out in go 25 miles out in an 18-foot boat, go to Lex Hunt Fish. I know Eric's going to link it in the description anyways. But, yeah, you guys go check my videos out. Me and Eric have a bunch of videos together too, podcasts, fishing videos. Thank you so much.
Go over there and follow Lex. Another great one to follow is Elias V Fishing. If you don't follow him already, we all kind of work together and really help each other out. So, of course, got to support Elias. I'm sorry about Elias if you see this. Sorry for shutting you down, man. I'll call you later. But and the last thing I want to mention is if you guys are interested in selling your house, Nest Realty has a application called BuySide. You can plug your information into that app, and I'll link the description down below with that link for you. But it'll give you an accurate valuation. It bounces off of MLS data, Zillow, and other accurate information, whereas Zillow could just be a biased application and form. So jump down there, plug your house in, see what it's worth. If I can help you with any real estate needs, let me know. My contact information is down below. I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you on the next one.